How you doing? And welcome to Criminal Justice in a Nutshell. My name is John Fisher. In today's episode of Criminal Justice in a Nutshell, we're going to be talking about police strategies. Okay. We are standing across from the Horace Garrett Applied Sciences building on the beautiful campus of Howard College, Big Spring. And in this building, you find a health studies, health sciences, and career technical education. My office is also located in this building. So if you ever want to come by and visit, I'm on the second floor, about halfway down through the double glass doors. Guys, so on to our topic of policing strategies. We've heard forever and throughout the history that police officers are there to protect and serve. You know, that's the academy answer. Why do you want to be a police officer? To protect and serve. Well, the Supreme Court has turned around and said that the police have absolutely no constitutional obligation to protect us as citizens. Their job, their whole mission in life is to prevent crime and restore order. Okay? Their job is to do their best to prevent crime from happening, and if crime does happen, to restore order and bring justice to the society. The shooting in South Carolina at the Charleston Church of the Mother Emanuel Episcopalian Methodist Church, or African Episcopalian Methodist Church, we saw that Dylan Ruff attacked and killed 9 people. The police department didn't protect the church. It's not their job to protect the church. It's our jobs as individuals to protect ourselves from crime. So what do we do, or how do we go about police strategies? The police strategies are first to prevent crime. Okay? And if we're preventing crime, we want to do that through patrol. And through patrol, we find, there goes one of our great Big Spring police officers now. I can swing my camera over there and you can see him driving down the street, patrolling, because that's what police officers do. We have a police presence, we put a police presence in the street, and then it turns around and is supposed to deter crime. In the 1970s, we had several experiments to find out if patrol works. And the biggest or the most well-respected experiment was the Kansas City Patrol experiment. And the Kansas City Patrol experiment, what they did was they took the city of Kansas City and they put it into 3 experimental places, or 3 experimental zones. The first zone was their control zone. They made absolutely no changes to the way that they patrolled the city. The second section of the city, they put no patrol, and it was response only. So if I'm walking down the street or I come home and I find my house is broken into, I call 911, I call the police, say, hey, somebody just burglarized my house, and they send the police over. Other than that, they don't see the police driving up and down the street. The third area is they increased patrol, and they thought that if they put all of the police force or put a larger police presence into that area, we would be able to then find out a suggestion. The suggestion would be that crime would decrease where there was a greater police presence, and it would increase where there was no police presence, and crime would remain the same in the control section where the police patrol program policies remain the same. What they found was absolutely no change. Patrol has absolutely no effect upon the level of crime within a community. The number of police officers that you put on the street does not control the amount of crime in the city. Okay, the number of police officers that you put on the street has a lot to do with how much does the city council and how much does the taxpayer want to pay to have a larger police presence. You know, we could put 7,000 police officers in Big Spring. It's not going to change the level of crime because crime is not predicated upon patrol or police presence. The crime will just displace to another place around the block, the next street over, until the police are gone. and then it will go right back to the way that it was. So how do we go about decreasing crime? You've heard me say in other lectures, in other nutshells, that the people are the police and the police are the people. So there are two primary strategies that are used by the police to help affect reducing crime. The first is community-oriented policing. And if you take classes with me, you're going to find that I am a big proponent of community-oriented policing. This is a relationship between the community and the police department to where they work together to fight crime. Okay, so when there was a shooting here in Big Spring a couple weeks ago, it got on Facebook, and I really like Facebook as a social media because it allows people to be able to communicate with the community or with the police about crime problems. Here in Big Spring, we've got a secret Facebook group called Big Spring Crime Watch. And there are police officers that are involved there, and the members of the community are involved there, and they work together to try and make Big Spring a better place. And I think it's working. I think it's a great tool. Granted, a lot of the people that, they start talking about the police and how horrible the police are, and then the others that come and they defend the police and they give them a blank check and say, you're the greatest thing on the earth, you can do whatever you want, and they don't hold the police accountable for their actions. Police have to be held accountable for their actions, but community-related relationships between the businesses and the members of the community and the police must exist for community-oriented policing to work. There must be a trust between the two. The police can't turn around and say, okay, all those people who aren't cops are viable suspects, they're a bunch of assholes, and they need to be watched because they're committing crime. They also can't turn around and say, the community has absolutely no idea what we're going through. They don't know what our job is like, and they couldn't spend 3 days being a police officer because we're special. Well, they are special, but they still need to be held accountable. They have to be held to a higher standard than a regular citizen, in my opinion, because they are the upholders of the law. Okay. Well, community-oriented policing helps create a dynamic. It helps create a relationship between the community and the police to where the community is no longer afraid to call up the police department and say, hey, my next door neighbor's beating his wife. Okay, these things happen. Okay, and if there's a shooting, people are not going to be worried about turning around and saying, hey, we need to not tell the police what we know because they'll just go beat somebody up or kill somebody, or they'll put somebody in jail that doesn't belong in jail. And there's a whole lot of trust issues, and community-oriented policing helps build that gap. It helps repair the mistrust between the community and the police. The second strategy that we find within policing strategies is problem-oriented policing. And this problem-oriented policing is, we use a program called SARA. It's called Scanning, Analysis, Response, or Assessment, and Assessment. So using SARA, what we do is we look for, and CompStat, we look for the major crime problems within a community. For example, Big Spring has got a gang problem, and we want to address the gang problem in Big Spring. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to scan the community. Do we really have a gang problem in Big Spring? And we're going to evaluate, and we're going to find out if the gang problem is a serious issue. And if it becomes a serious issue, we move on to the analysis. We want to find out what kind of gangs that we have, what kind of activities that the gangs are involved in, and how prevalent the gang system is within the city of Big Spring. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to brainstorm responses, and these responses come from the bottom up. Okay, they don't come from the top down because the chief of police is in his office. He's not running the streets. He's not patrolling the streets. He's not, he's more concerned with the day-to-day operation and administration of the police department. What we need to do is we need to talk to the police officers and the patrol guys. There's another police officer driving down the street. We need to talk to these guys to find out what's going on and find out what they think that they can do in a way or as a way to address the gang problem within Big Spring. We're also going to look at other cities. What is LA doing? Well, you don't want to go to LA. You want to look at other cities of comparable sizes. So if Big Spring currently has between 25 and 50,000 people in it, we need to look at other towns and other communities within Texas, within the country, and how they're addressing the gang problem that the cities have, and then see if that's something that we can implement here. In teaching and education, in every business, we have a best practices policy. What we do is we look for the best practices and we put those forth to see that if it works. So we analyze the problem, we create a response from the bottom up, and something that we can do to address the gang problem within a community. For example, to address gangs, maybe we need to open up another youth club. The police department can sponsor a midnight basketball or a midnight softball tournament to where we get all of these gangs to where they're no longer shooting each other in the streets, but they're playing basketball on a basketball court over at the YMCA or at the Dorothy Garrett Coliseum, or go to Foundation Field and play softball. And you have these gangs turn their anger and their rivalries from something that's being dealt with guns and bats and knives to baseball and softball and basketball and sporting relating events. Is this an idea that will work? I don't know. That's, has it worked other places? And that's what the assessment is. You start assessing the programs, you assess the problems, you assess those things that are affected, or assess those plans that you've put into place to try to curb these criminal activities and criminal behaviors. Okay, this is Policing Strategies, Criminal Justice in a Nutshell. My name is John Fisher. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a very good and pleasant day.